Well, hello everyone. Sam Samuelson is backstage now, and I will. Sorry, I'm just tidying up my desk a little bit. And I will be letting him on, and we will have stuff to say about stuff.
Hey there, Claire. What's up?
Yeah, I just feel quite busy today, though. I guess if you look at me, I haven't actually been out. I haven't been doing that much, but there's been sort of stuff to think about, I guess. So, um,
Yeah, well, my boy just arrived, so I kind of had a bit of a delay there. Sorry I didn't catch the invite, and I caught it kind of late. I apologize for the late arrival because my boy just arrived. He took the bus on his own from a bit of a distance, so we were in contact with him on the phone. He's 10 years old now, so he's got enough confidence to take the bus. But it was his first time, so we had to make sure everything was okay with him.
Oh, very good. Anyway, he went. He got to wherever he wanted to go and got home safely. And
Yeah, exactly. His mom dropped him off at the bus station, and it's a bus ride from the top of the mountain down to the foothills of the Carmel, where we live. So it's a nice scenic kind of bus ride. Me and him have ridden this bus a few times, many times. He's familiar with it, but it was his first time on the bus alone. So we were proud of him that he managed to not lose his nerve, and he was okay.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of cable car kind of view. What you've
Yeah,
just
it is.
described.
It is. It is. There is a cable car up there that goes up there. There's a new cable car system for for transportation that goes all the way from the Gulf, from where the port is, the commercial port, like on at sea level. It goes all the way up. It's kind of like it snakes through the mountain. It's like public transportation cable car, and it goes all the way up to Haifa University. It's brand new. It opened up not too long ago. It's amazing. They've developed a really nice system for public transportation in Haifa. Like a nice tunnel crossing across all of Haifa from the western part of Haifa where the beach is, all the way to the other side where the industrial area is for people who get to work. They did a really nice job on Haifa's public transportation. It's a scenic place. It's a very nice place to live, in my opinion. Better than for me, it's much better than Brooklyn, much better than
Right.
New York. Yeah.
So you get the scenic ride as a commuter, and it doesn't cost
Right.
more, because I was thinking cable car, they're going to charge you more. They're going to charge you
Oh,
tourist rates.
same fare as the bus, same fare as the. We've got not your double deckers that you have over there in London, but we have those ones like you find in Germany where they have two two parts of the bus. It's a long extended bus, and it's got a swing section in the middle. You know what I'm talking about? I forget the name of that kind of bus, but it's really nice, and it's a lot of it is
It's called a bendy bus.
yeah, bending bus. Yeah,
In the UK, but it's those long things, and it didn't work very well in London because it was just too long and people got
right,
annoyed.
right. But here they made it work, and it's very pleasant. We've got and they're electric also, so they've upgraded the public transportation here to the point where it's like people are calmer, because public transportation here used to be a pain in the butt, and paying the bus driver. So now it's all very well organized with the card system, the pass that you pay for, and it's all connected with the train system. It's very comfortable. The public transportation here, they made it very convenient and comfortable for people. I'm
Very
happy.
good. It takes the stress out of it. Otherwise, there'd be so much road rage
Right.
and congestion.
That's the point of it. It takes the stress out of it, and they have their own exclusive lanes for the buses and for the yeah. They made it efficient and they made it very comfortable. And Tel Aviv is getting there as well. They'll do it also in Jerusalem. They're already tunneling under the mountain over there to have a train station right underneath where the Western Wall is, so that worshippers, people that want to go pray, can reach the Western Wall in like from every corner of Israel, with a train station that'll take them straight there, right up to the Western Wall from underground. It's amazing. Yeah, but to get to Jerusalem is also very easy now with the Germans. We bought from Siemens. We bought these electric trains that are beautiful, really nice. They made
London are also from Siemens.
yeah, Siemens, the German manufacturer. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's like I'm in a good mood. I and I'm in a good mood because there's a potential love interest developing here from my current workplace. We say in Hebrew, "Bli ayin hara," without the evil eye. Yeah, but yeah, who knows? She's into it. I'm into it. She's half my age, but who cares? I'm not complaining. I guess she's into. She likes older guys.
And are you? I mean, have you asked if she's got a boyfriend?
No, she made it very clear she's not. She doesn't have a boyfriend.
Oh, right.
She came on to me. I didn't come on to her. She was like, I just chatted her up, and she said, "No, I've been on my own for a while." And I told her, "Yeah, a pretty girl like you shouldn't be alone, you know." And she grinned, and she sort of not grinned. She blushed, and she had a big smile. She was like, "Yeah, okay, I got it. I got you. All right."
The blush, that's the one that made you think, oh, she's maidenly. She's not, forward or whatever. Because I
No,
think
she's not. No, she's intelligent. Let's just say she's like classy. She's got she's mature for her age, but most women are usually more mature than men for their age. But she's nice, nice girl.
when
Yeah,
you going out on your date.
probably next week. We're still just in the flirting stage, but I sent her a bunch of messages. She sent me back like message, WhatsApp messages
Yeah.
that are enthusiastic. I can read
Uh-huh.
it. She's not like turning me away. She's like sort of like egging me on, not egging me on, but cheering me on. It's like, so I know
I think
this,
being
like,
responsive and
yeah,
polite.
yeah, she's being responsive. That's the right word to use, responsive. Yeah,
Mhm.
without being too obvious about it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
classy, as you were saying. So, what's your idea of the perfect date?
My idea of a perfect date.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
I'm assuming it's all gonna you're gonna ask her out. You have
well,
something in
I'll
mind.
take her out I'll take her to dinner and maybe a movie, and who knows after that, let it develop naturally, because so it's
It
like
should
we've
be the
been
other
through.
way round, shouldn't it? I mean, it should be the activity first,
Yeah,
I
of
think,
course. No, I'm not going to jump.
and then dinner afterwards.
I've been with her for around 2.5 weeks already. She's like one of the instructors in the class that I'm going through at my current place of employment. She's like there's a Van Halen tune called "Hot for Teacher." It's an old song from the '80s, "Hot for Teacher." But yeah, so it's like I'm constantly with her, like from morning till the afternoon, a full work day. So we've gotten to know one another already. We sat down and had lunch together and talked and all this, and so flirting back and forth. And then now it's obvious, like, yeah, let's go out. Let's see where this takes us, where this leads us. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Mm, mm.
I'm not that. She's quality. She's class. I'm not gonna be a dog about it and just like try to, jump her bones like too quickly here. This is a kind of a
It's
person
a
that,
slow burn kind of relationship.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, exactly. That's the way it should be. I mean, It's more enjoyable that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Uh-huh.
good. It's always nice when you have a love interest. It does give life that extra zing.
Yeah, I'm listening to music, and the music is more vibrant, and the music is making me.
That's yes. I think when people kind of feel that way, they'll start listening to music.
Yeah, yeah, the music is making me feel more passionate, and it's like, wow, the music is like, when it's about
And
when
Van
music.
Halen,
Yeah,
but aren't they heavy metal or something?
no, they're like '80s hard rock, sort of like not heavy metal, hard rock. David Lee Roth, Sammy
Ah,
Hagar, Sammy Hagar. I sent her the Sammy Hagar tune, the Van Halen tune, Dreams. It's a good one. It's a good one.
okay. Uh, okay. So you're obviously a Van Halen fan.
Yeah.
Yes, it might be dangerous. I mean, sometimes people don't like the same songs, but we don't know. I mean,
No, it's just she's not uptight about this kind of stuff. She's a pretty laid back, and
uh,
she's she understands the English. She understands my English. She doesn't speak good English. She speaks Russian.
mhm.
I used come online which made her blush. Actually, said it to her in Russian, which made her blush. And I told her, you're too pretty to be on your own. Yeah, and so she blushed. Just as like, let me see if I
Do
can
you
remember.
want do you want to try it again?
Yeah, I'll say it. Let me just try to remember how to say it. Takaya, Takaya krasiveya, davushka, kakti denolzhna bit odna. I'll say it again. Takaya krasiveya, davushka, kakti nedoljna bit odna. That's how you say it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
I
she,
think we
yeah,
should
yeah.
say, you should say it with conviction, the way a Russian would say it.
All right. I have to
Because
think.
I think that would
She
kind of
told me, she
impress.
told me you said it well. You said it correctly, but with that, she criticized the accent. I said, "What do you want from me? I didn't learn Russian. I tried to learn
Yeah,
Russian when I was in high school. I had Russian friends and everything." She smiled, she laughed. So
yeah.
if I practiced it, maybe I could sound more convincing as a Russian with the accent and everything. So it's not easy.
So the
It's
Google Voice is so good. I mean, because they have authentic accents when you want, something read out in the language you want it translated to or in from.
right.
So have you ever tried that? Because it's a
No,
proper Polish, Russian, Chinese or whatever accent. It's really very good. I have to say.
what is it though? Where would I find it? What is it?
Google Translate. You just
Oh
you
yeah,
write.
right. Just play the voice and all that. Yeah, but it's a female voice that pronounces it. So I tried to imitate the proper pronunciation and the accent, but I couldn't get it.
It's
Yeah,
hard. It's harder. I
yeah,
mean, because there's so many syllables, right?
yeah,
So many syllables in it.
yeah,
Well, the Italian. I guess the Italian is a bit easier.
yeah.
The Italian
If I set
chapter
my
line.
yeah, if I set my mind to it, I could learn more and speak more Italian clearly because Italian is a sort of like something that I always wanted to learn. And I speak it well when I'm in Italy. If I have the Google Translate with me and it tells me in Italian and it's Latin sounding, Italian sounding, it's I could pull off an Italian accent. You
Yeah,
know,
I think I could too.
yeah,
I mean, just because it's so sing-song and
right,
the pronunciation is obvious. It's not like a trap for the unwary like
right.
English.
Right. No, it's good. It's good to speak other languages. It's not just because it makes you seem and sound more intelligent. It's just more fun to you can connect with other people's culture through the language and understand their minds and their mentality through the language they speak. So I it's like Russian is like harsh. It's like heavy. It's like rough. I wouldn't say rough, but it's like they're the character of the Russians. It's like strong. It's a strong. It's got a strong sound to it. You know.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. There's a lot of Yeah, I guess things have happened in their long history, and not
Yeah.
all of it was pleasant,
Right.
and it must have formed the Russian character. I forget who was talking about Dostoevsky to
Right.
me.
That
Well,
was Jacob Petrucci.
yes, him.
Mhm.
And I looked up this book this novel he was talking about, and I thought it's a horrible book,
Oh,
about torture and secret
right.
police and nihilism, and then I thought, oh, so the Russians were losing their religion,
Yeah,
when back
yeah.
then it was pre-revolutionary stuff,
Right.
you know.
Crime and Punishment was what I read from Dostoevsky. And
Yes,
yeah, and it's also it's dark. It has its dark elements, and it has its optimistic elements in it as well.
yeah.
So
Did you ever catch the BBC dramatization of War and Peace?
I might have, but it's not
You can't
recently.
remember now.
I can't
I mean,
remember.
I thought it was so good. I really, I never thought it
I
was.
saw it, yeah,
Ooh,
I saw it on PBS on public broadcasting in America,
right.
in New York. I probably see they probably played it, and I caught it. I caught some of it, most
Uh-huh.
likely. Yeah,
Uh-huh. But I mean, one of the most sort of you know points of the story that jumped out at me was when they were talking about when it was the war bit, and that there were all these the Russian aristocratic characters. They were fleeing to Moscow from the country,
yeah,
and they're getting into the carriage and saying, oh, we're sorry, peasants, we have to go to Moscow to save ourselves. We would like to take you with us, but we can't, as you can see, blah, blah, blah. And the peasant said, don't you worry about us. I'm sure, we're sure that Napoleon will give us a better deal than, you got.
well, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, wow, that's so,
yeah. Russian history is fascinating stuff. I know that you talked to Alexander Markouris, and he's like a Russian expert on Russian history, Russian politics. I watched their show, the Duran,
mhm,
with Alexander Christoforou and Alexander Markouris. They
mhm,
they do very good analysis of what's developing,
mhm,
and
mhm.
uh, and now you mentioned that yeah, Finland is going to join NATO, and it's going to further provoke Putin in Russia. And
They
it's
want to bleed Russia
yeah,
white. That's the whole point, I suppose. And I guess Finland and Sweden were already kind of owned by America anyway.
right.
Um, so, but yeah, I mean that is the intention. And I thought, wow, two female prime ministers, and the pretty one. What's a pretty one doing being prime minister of Finland? She's too pretty to be prime minister. You
Well, I
know,
don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's up with the leaders of Europe now.
No,
Eh,
no, well, okay, I think it's a big fat conspiracy. This is how they control us, and we don't even know it, or most people don't even know it. And people react differently to men and to women, and
right.
it's all subconscious. They don't even know it, and I think men are prepared to forgive a lot in women that they fancy.
Yes.
It's like she's dumb. I don't care. You
Well,
know,
luckily, this
but if
Russian
it's a man and
guy.
he's dumb, it's like get rid of him.
No, 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 no. I don't like dumb girls. I can't stand dumb girls. I can't be with dumb girls. I can't. Yeah, I mean, if it's just about banging, and if it's just about like recreational sex and sports sex, if you want to call it that, even that gets boring, and even that doesn't do it. For you want quality. You want, say, a well balanced person. And
Yeah, it must be
luckily,
terrible to wait for her to stop talking before you can get on with your true agenda, right?
yeah, yeah. But if there's a girl that actually you like talking to, and she's is smart, and she's funny, and she's she can follow a conversation and make and
Mhm.
lead, develop an interesting conversation on her own. It's intelligent. She's got a good head on her shoulders. And yeah, I
Mm.
mean, and she's good looking. she's tall, blonde, blue eyed. It's like that's what I like. Forget about it. It's like, oh, where did this come from? And it's wow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good. It's a good deal, And
Mm.
it's like she doesn't like Israeli men that much because it's like she's they're not on her level, and yeah.
What's wrong with? I mean, okay, what would a woman like her think is wrong with Israeli men?
Well, they're too macho. They're too aggressive. They're too yeah, suave. Not as not intellectual. Not intellectual. They put on too much of an act. Too much of a of a machismo macho kind of Mediterranean man.
Hmm.
Mediterranean men are like the Italian men, the Greek men that more like the old fashioned Italian man. It's like
They put on
putting
an act and be all gallant and
yeah, exactly, and making the
yes,
muscles and the hair and the grooming and the
the
tattoos.
kissing of hand. Uh,
Say what?
the kissing of hands, and
Uh,
I can't bear
no,
that.
they don't know. They don't do that. That's old fashioned. They don't kiss hands. It's not like old fashioned. I'm saying like like today's guys are like I wouldn't call them greasy. The Italians. You have this look of it. The Italian man is like what do you call that? The Casanova. But the modern day Casanova, you would think of like with the greasy hair and the grease ball, and the Italian man with
The
just
hairy chest and the
yeah,
unbuttoned shirt.
Romeo. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, Romeo. All right,
Yeah,
so, but yeah, Israeli guys, some of them are like this. A lot of them are like this. But yeah, but they're too. Not, I wouldn't say they're too abrasive. They're too forward. There's no like I wouldn't say style, but it's not about style. They have their own style. It's not. It's about being like suave, not suave, but it says, what I'm saying. It's like using having tact and having style, being classy a bit, not being
and being
too
restrained, I think,
strange.
fundamentally, because
Yeah,
a woman finds a man slobbering over her quite
right, right,
distasteful, or making his intentions very obvious from the beginning, also
right,
rather
right, right.
tedious.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
guess. Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, I was staring at her like uh, like uh, like a dog in heat, like.
Like a
Yeah,
cartoon.
like the first day, I was like, my eyes were like frozen on her, and she was smiling. And then the next day, they decided the three girls that are running this course, including her, that she'd sit in the back, so I wouldn't be distracted by her.
Ah, that explains the whole, with women. Sorry, at Muslim events, the women have to sit at the back and the men sit at the front because otherwise they'd be looking at the women.
Yeah, you're too distracted by it if
Yes.
you're.
Huh.
So yeah, but it's it's been like 2.5 weeks of flirting, smiling, laughing, that kind of deal, making jokes, and getting comfortable with it. She feels comfortable with me. I feel comfortable with her now. So I can, yeah, we'll go out and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mm. But
Ah.
anyway, yeah, back to the subject matter. It's like, yeah, I've got people also in my class there that we're going to start working at the end of the month. We're just doing like a quick crash course, and they're also you've got religious people in there, and I've got like also an Islamic woman, a Muslim woman with she's got the head covering and everything, and she's
Mhm.
a modern is Arab Israeli, so she speaks Hebrew, she speaks English, and
Mhm.
she's also very well, I'd say a hip. She's aware. She's
Mhm.
into modern politics and events and current events. So we all have sit together. We all eat lunch together. It's like, despite everything, there still is sort of human to person understanding. If it's you know, there's no sense of there's no tension, no sense of like uneasiness, despite the fact that a lot of things are happening in Israel now that are causing tensions again.
Mm-hmm.
It's always very nuanced. It's always very, it always depends on the situation. But in the workplace, we've got Arab Israelis, we've got Christian Arabs, we've got Russian Jews, we've got Ethiopian, we've got the whole the whole entire spectrum of all the different ethnicities that live here. When you have Americans like myself, Americans are there. You
Mm-hmm.
have South Americans there. You have like everyone, all the people that the demographics of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a mix of
Yeah,
everybody.
it sounds very multicultural.
It is for sure. It is. And in the workplace, people get along and they try to avoid getting under each other's nerves over politics. So talking politics is not as
Forbidden.
not forbidden, but not as loud and sort of rancorous. Not as it's not something to fight over. It's just like you keep that uh, to yourself, or you keep that reserved. Again, being reserved, having some you know tact. So
Yes.
yeah,
Well, it's actually, the rule. I remember reading some Victorian novel, and way back then, it's like the safest topic with strangers is the weather and your health.
right,
Don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics, because even then, things would get quite heated, and
right.
I think it was in those times.
Pretty much. Yeah, but in the workplace, you got such diversity that it's best to just avoid confrontation and subject matter that causes controversy and all that. So
Yeah.
if you have your friends and you're on your own, you're in your whatever, I separate or like in private from the rest of the workforce, and but you try to avoid igniting people's
Yes, I think it's instinctive, isn't it? I mean, really,
it
if
is.
you're not really, sure of yourself, then you don't
Yeah, because
voluntarily.
Israel's politics now is really becoming wow, I'd say explosive. It's really explosive now, and it's gonna be very interesting what's gonna happen, what's gonna develop very soon. Because I told you it's all building towards a very dramatic, a fat lady singing crescendo moment, where a big drama that's unfolding now. I mean, you can only guess. You put the pieces together. You create, you paint the picture. Russia is being taunted. They're taunting them by all of these moves that they're making. They want Russia to overreact. They want Russia, or they want to create this narrative and an illusion, or an excuse to say, well, Russia retaliated. They're waiting for a Russian retaliation, or to build up a case where they'll accuse Russia of having done something, maybe even if Russia didn't do anything. They
Yeah, the
want
false flag
to false
attack.
flag. They want to build this tension. They want to build it. They want to build the case. They want to build an alibi. They want to build a story. If it wasn't the cyber attack that they didn't pull off when they wanted it to pull it off, now it's probably going to be an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, or a hypersonic nuclear missile that'll explode in the upper atmosphere and causing an EMP to black out all of America, or maybe part of Europe. Who knows? And there's, what they said, that they'll activate a nuclear device underwater and then trigger a tsunami onto the British Isles, a mega tsunami. That's the case. That's what the story is now about Russia doing that to England, to Britain. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what they are. It's out of desperation, that these things are escalating, because also it has everything to do with finances and the economy and the markets, and that they've got a shortage of baby formula in the United States, countrywide. people can't get their hands on baby formula for their babies, for their kids. And
Yeah,
it's,
did you read about Sri Lanka?
oh
You
yeah,
know, it's sort of this is what's going to happen if you don't.
and Tunisia's on the front burner now as well. They're about to have riots and food riots and all that. Their economy's collapsing, and
Yeah,
Turkey's
but
in the
I mean,
same boat.
it's so crazy. Why are they, it's not even good for themselves. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, go buy the grenade. Okay, we'll go buy the grenade you asked us to. And this is what, the people leading European nations are basically doing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like Orbach. If not, or is his name Orbach?
Orban, the
Orban,
Hungarian.
Orban from Hungary. Orban. Did you read? This was from the Duran. I was listening to Alexander Markouris mention this. That Orban sent a scathing letter to the president of the EU. The what's her name? The Parliament. The
Was
sort
it
of
Christine Lagarde?
no.
Yeah,
That's the IMF and
the
no
financial.
the
Yeah.
European Central Bank. That's Christine Lagarde. But there's a German-sounding name of this president of the EU. He sent her a letter telling her that she's fallen on, she's lost her mind. She's fallen on her head. And if she expects
Really? Did he do those? Well, if only he did.
that Hungary should stop purchasing oil and gas from Russia. You know,
Ursula von der Leyen, I think is her
yeah,
name.
yeah. Delay is she German or French?
I'm
I think
looking.
she's
I'm
German.
looking. She sounds Dutch.
Dutch. Oh, she's
Uh,
Dutch. Okay, right. Dutch. She's in between France and Germany. She's Dutch.
right. Well, it sounds Dutch to me. I mean, I don't.
Yes, I think yeah, you're right. I think you're right. I think she's Dutch. Anyway,
Yeah.
but Orban is not a traitor to his people. He's not disloyal to his people like most of the other leaders in Europe, and even in Israel, our leadership here is hated. They're loathed. They're seen as traitors.
Well, they
Uh,
all are. Okay. I mean, apart from little Hungary, um, everybody else has gone crazy. I mean, the Poles are just
right,
crazy with hatred for Russians. They just can't help themselves. They just want to, I don't know. They even it feels like they'd even blow themselves up. If it has a chance of hurting Russia.
right. Yeah,
Because
it's
I've
hard. No, but it's also there's a more intrigue, sneaking up on us. It's behind the scenes, behind the red curtains. They're
I'm sorry. She is German. I'm sorry. She is German.
she's German. Okay, she's German. There are plans brewing. There are much bigger plans brewing, and people know this. People that are following what's happening, they know this is not circumstantial. They know this is premeditated. They're deliberately poking Russia. They're taunting Russia. They want to build a case for a major event that's going to happen, that's going to cause the Great Reset. All right, and it's going to be their excuse, their alibi. It's going to be their easy out by blaming Russia for all of it. But we all know that this has been brewing for many years, and they've been looking for their excuse to to pull the switch, to flip the switch, and that's what it just seems obvious that that's what they're going to do now. And
Yeah,
if the
but
Chinese,
it doesn't make sense for Europeans to follow America's orders. That it is, what is so dismaying. You know, why would
I
any
know. Well, even
country?
Americans, even Americans at this point are very critical of of their government, especially military veterans. They're critical of the fact that a lot of Americans are oblivious to the real politics behind the show and the facade that you find on the TV. On the TV, nobody with half a brain believes. What this administration in the United States is any word coming out of their mouth is a suspect and is not to be believed and relied on. Anything coming out of the mouth of that deranged, senile puppet doofus, cabbage, vegetable, potato head, whatever he is, Nobody in their right mind can take that guy seriously, or is the American government is only taken seriously again because of the military might, the nuclear weapons, and the threat of the using the sanctions and the dollar and all this. It's like, but they've lost all of their gravitas. They've lost all of it. They've lost all of their respectability. They've lost all of their soft power. Nobody thinks of them as virtuous or having gravitas. They don't have it. They're not serious. They're like a joke. They're a joke, you know. And it's not about criticizing the democratic system of government that America was supposed to be functioning on, or a parliamentary system, or a representative government, and all that. I mean, those were all well intentioned and well, supposed to be well designed, well engineered forms of government, but they're very corruptible. They're the most corruptible, those systems of government. They're the big corporations, the big tycoons, the big banks, the robber barons, the royals. It's the
Yeah,
easy.
because it's political parties and the way they fight elections that you know causes division, that allow these political divisions to be exploited by, well, the merchant classes, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, they
corporate
totally.
America controls America because of these stupid elections, which actually Washington warned against in his farewell speech.
Yeah, well, they've totally disenfranchised the majority of the citizenry. This is not an argument. This is not. There's no argument to be made here. They have disenfranchised almost everyone. Even if you're making money and you've got a business, they've got so much leverage on you. They can shut you down and threaten you, intimidate you.
They
And
just
this is
deplatformed a sitting American president.
yeah,
That's what.
yeah, for sure. They've taken the freedom away from the public. They've disenfranchised almost everybody. You know, there are very few people that actually can feel like they're real participants in America's democracy or Europe's
Yeah,
democratic.
yeah. So they don't need to, make this pretense anymore because China doesn't. It's like, we're not going to ask you your stupid opinion. You don't know anything. We're just going to run the country and, occasionally consult you about, our policies to see if it's working. And it's like, yeah, that's good enough. We don't need to be asked our opinion about, other
Yeah,
stuff.
in Europe they put on an act. They're very pretentious about behaving as though they're a free and fair governments and countries, when in fact it's highly uh, you know corrupt and manipulated, and they can't cover it up. They can't pretend like it's not what it is. It's the governments are bought and paid for. Here it's bold faced, corruption. People buy politicians here like nothing. They buy their allegiance, they buy their votes. It's like, and there's no pretenses about it. It's just like our parliament is totally shit. It's corrupt. Well, and from all ends of it, the Arab parties, the pro right wing Zionist parties, the centrist parties, they're all corrupt. They're all on the take, they make it obvious as well. They don't even pretend like that's the case. The government is so broken here that everything is done with bribes and corruption, and it's filthy, filthy. And they pretend to be virtuous, and they pretend to be following the law, and they're spitting in the face of the citizenry here, the majority, that all want them all gone. We want this government gone. We don't want it. And I think that's
But
happening.
how are you going to agree on a new one other than,
Well,
I mean, can you all agree on a one-party state?
no, well, it's going to be forced on everyone when this coalition falls apart. If you recall, I made mention of this, and I announced this on your channel and also on John Gishel's channel, and I was accused of being insane. Oh, Sam is insane. He's out of his mind. He's like, what the hell is he talking about? All these stories, these fantastical, supernatural. Man, it's all bunk, it's all mumbo jumbo. But yeah, take it or leave it. When this coalition falls apart, we'll have messianic revelation. We're upon it. This government can fall apart at any minute in Israel. If the current coalition in Israel loses power and we go into interim government and elections, mark that as the clearest, most blatant sign of messianic revelation. And in Hebrew, we say ototo. Ototo meaning like right now, as soon as possible, like ototo in this moment.
What,
So,
arrive already?
arrived, yeah, arrived already. It's like if this coalition government does not have legs to stand on, it's being maintained by way of bribes and corruption and payoffs. That's the only thing keeping this coalition together. All right, so all of that should be exposed. All the corruption should be all of a sudden, if it becomes well known to everybody, this coalition will fall apart. Some sort of scandal will make this coalition fall apart. It's falling apart from within as well already. So many, sorry, excuse me, so many pressures can bring this a current Israeli government down, and hopefully soon. But and that spells a very dramatic unfolding of events will occur because it's all building. And people can call me insane if they don't want to believe it. What I'm saying, it's like it's too difficult for them. It's not according to their religious perspectives, because they've been taught from their traditions all sorts of things that counter Judaism and Jewish eschatology and belief in messianic revelation and messianic redemption. It's not, we're not on the same page. Judaism,
Can you
Christianity.
give us the alternative view, the alternative Jewish view to yours? I mean, you
Oh,
said.
alternative Jewish view to what? To Christianity or Islam?
Oh
Or
no! I mean, the alternative view to
oh,
you.
it's not mine. It's from my rabbi. I mean, I've been following my rabbi, Rabbi Nir Ben Artzi, for many years now, over 15 years approximately, since 2008, 2009. And
Could you tell us a little bit about his background?
well, he's from a family of well-respected rabbis, Kabbalists from Tunisia, from the island of Jerba. It's a very protected kind of a Jewish community that lived there on this island, but it goes by the name of Jerba. It's a mystical place. The rabbis there, they're all known for being on a very high level. His family is also from his family is well known, and his family is also got a legacy of being rabbis, mystical rabbis, Kabbalists. So they have a community in the southern part of Israel, near the Gaza Strip. It's a moshav. It's an agricultural settlement. But it's in the area where Abraham really made his home. It wasn't just in Beersheba. It's more in the area of the where my rabbi lives now, in the place called Bro Chail and Tlamim. It's an area on the map. You can find it. And so he was raised as no, not ultra orthodox, but religious and nationalist. And he was in the military, and he had a job as a farmer. He drove a tractor. He was and when he grew up, he realized that he had these extraordinary abilities. He had a not just telepathy. He had like extrasensory perception. He was aware of things that other people weren't aware of, like when he was driving the tractor, like what's the word for when you plow? He was plowing the fields. He had an extrasensory perception in realizing where everything was, the underground pipes that that he knew where not to drive the tractor and plow. No, certain other things, not just that. Those are like very simple things, but when he was younger. But over time, as he grew up, as he matured, he developed the ability to really, or not just developed. I mean, he became aware. It's like, having extrasensory perception and ability to see somebody and know everything about them, even read their minds, read their thoughts. Things like this are very different. This is a special person with special gifts, and so he's a very simple person. Very he speaks very simply and eloquently and to the point. He always has his eyes shut when he's giving his sermons, and so he doesn't get distracted by the people in the audience. And also, it's not just he's concentrating, but he's also receiving. He's like a receiver. He's got like what you would call it, like a direct link, like a pipeline straight from the heavens into his mind, and what he says comes is like it's coming from up on high, and what he declares happens, and what he foretells happens. It's more than
What
a
has he foretold that proved to be
oh,
accurate?
you remember the tsunami in Japan that happened in 2011?
Oh, in Fukushima, is that
The
that one?
Fukushima, the Fukushima tsunami.
Hmm.
Well, a week in advance of that happening, he described it to a T, and this is what's going to happen in Japan. And he described it to a T, and that's just one event. And there's so many other, like countless events that it's either, it's not on the spot, it's not on the same day. Sometimes some things do happen on the same day. It's varied what he says. Sometimes it gives a forecast of things to come, and you look for it, and it's only by doing deep research into the stuff that he's talking about that you figure out, yeah, that's true. That's what he's actually saying is true. But it doesn't incubate, or it doesn't develop so quickly. He makes an announcement. He makes it's not a prediction. It's not a prediction. It's actually a declaration. This is what will happen, and this is what will, and it happens. And I've followed him long enough to know that it's not mumbo jumbo. I've looked for references, verifications, confirmation of things. It's not because I question. It's no longer about doubt or questioning him. I just want to see where it actually manifests. So it's like for instance, there was an incident that I actually posted on Facebook to people that follow my rabbi, that are adherents to his lessons, and they're his you could call them followers. So my rabbi says there's going to be a storm in a port, and a ship is going to crack in half, and everybody will see it. It's the hand of God that'll do it. And he says it like a week in advance of it. And then I find it somewhere on RT when RT was still on YouTube. I find this incident which seemed odd to people, but immediately I posted it to Facebook. Immediately I posted it to all the sites where he's mentioned, or his Facebook pages, and people were in shock. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what he described just not too long ago, days ago, or a week in advance of it happening. Very specific things. And he says that these accidents that are happening, the fact that animals are acting out, wild animals and even domestic animals are becoming more aggressive, and they're attacking people. Strange creatures are bubbling up from the deep, oceans. You have all sorts of creatures popping up. He made mention of this. This is also something that would happen. He talked about the frequency of the natural catastrophes, of volcanoes, earthquakes, storms, and strange weather, odd weather. And he said also, as it's mentioned in the prophets. And this is just what you just yourself, Claire, just I don't know if it was in a state of being aware of it or not, but you said everybody's at each other's throats. Nations in Europe are all at each other's throats. And it's America against Russia, and it's India against China, and it's China against Taiwan. It's every country now is entangled. And this is messianic prophecy. This is in the Hebrew prophets. And I shall entangle Egypt with Egypt. Egypt meaning the materialistic world, the spiritually corrupt world, the spiritually tainted and poisoned world. That's what Egypt is compared to. That's what Egypt is a moniker of. That's what from ancient times. It's anyway.
Hmm.
So ancient when when the Israelites left Egypt, the slavery of Egypt, it wasn't just physical slavery; it was spiritual. Slavery. It was
Well,
having the
because wishing that they were back in Egypt as
right, right, right.
slaves.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was the elites in Egypt, the royal classes and the aristocrats in Egypt, all that had the rest of the peons, the peasants, serving them and worshiping them as gods. They were into indulging, just like the Greeks and the Romans when they became decadent. But the Egyptians were into indulging in a lot of decadence, and it had a lot to do with their spiritual understanding was for the sake of physical pleasure, or not just physical pleasure, not just hedonism, but just tainting things. Even if they had a spiritual understanding that was on a high level, it was about using it for dark forces, dark purposes, not necessarily for doing good, but for self-indulgence, for aggrandizing themselves. Some of the pharaohs were, as while they were living, they had effigies of themselves created, statues of themselves while they were still alive, and they bowed down to images of themselves while they were living.
Wow.
That is the height of, like, give you a good name for a good word to describe that.
Yeah, it's about it's like the Roman practice of deifying an
Yeah,
emperor when he
the
dies.
Romans took that from the Egyptians, from the pharaohs. The
Uh-huh.
Greeks also took that from the Egyptians. The pharaohs were the ones that used to actually worship themselves as gods. They didn't just demand that their people worship them as gods. While they were living, they worshipped their images of themselves. They bowed down to.
Which is
Unbelievable.
stupid, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, well, I mean, I mean, apart from it in theory offending God, if God exists, it's just a waste of time and just illogical and stupid. And
No, it's the height of arrogance. It's the height of egotism. You know. And
yes,
so, yeah, the story of the Exodus and the humbling of the Egyptians and the pharaohs, and destroying their gods in their face, eating the lambs, to mock them. After it was a form of payback, showing the Egyptians that we don't respect your idol gods. You worship animals, you worship falsehoods, you worship stone, statues made of stone and images, and it's idolatry. It was a form of basically not just getting even, but purifying the hearts and minds of the Israelites that were slaves in Egypt, to cleanse them of any idolatry that they were tainted by, to like free to have freedom and liberty from the chains of idolatry, forced idolatry, and so that's the world today. Can be equated to Egypt. You know.
well, the thing about idolatry, I find that if you look at all these great ancient peoples that practiced idolatry, such as the Vikings. It's popular with nationalists, white nationalists. They like to think of brave warrior Vikings and all
Yeah.
that. And it's like, they were idolaters, and then they settled in France, and then they became Normans, and then they acquired an empire, and then they disappeared. So if you want your national identity, idolatry is not the way to get it. The
No.
best way to get your identity, it's really, well, the Jewish way. I mean, Jews were just, I guess, an irritant to Gentiles because they didn't have an idol. So, people couldn't do anything to their idols. They couldn't, desecrate it and destroy it like other people's idols. And
Well,
it is
yeah.
because of this peculiar, religion that.
Yeah. Well, it's true. We serve a purpose. Obviously, I don't have to clarify exactly, because people know this, that it's through the ages. It's changed. and also stayed the same. There's a constant here, and we serve the good ones amongst us, the ones that are loyal, the ones that are disciplined, and the ones that know how to transmit the message properly, and the ones that set an example. Uh, we are staunchly against idol worship and worship of foreign gods, and having multi gods or polytheism. And if that can also translate into materialism. Materialism can be a form of idolatry, worshiping money, worshiping a woman. And we're told very, very clearly, you shouldn't put human beings before, or like you shouldn't put people as, like, you can worship your girlfriend, or you have an infatuation your wife is like your boss or your god, or the other way around. People shouldn't be substitutions for the creator. That's the whole thing. That's also mentioned in our belief system, that
Yes,
God
so
is.
any sort of straying away from obeying the laws that God created is a form of idolatry,
Yeah,
even though
absolutely,
people don't
absolutely.
actually think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people when they develop obsessions, or when they develop a addictions, they are succumbing to a form of idolatry. That's why we also that's it's frowned upon, the drug addiction, or any sort of addiction, the alcoholism, or just sex addictions and all this. This it takes you away from God. Takes you
Yeah,
away from
because
God.
you're allowing that appetite that you have made a god of to
Right.
control you. Um,
Exactly.
I mean, there's a verse in the Quran that says, those people who have made a god of their appetites.
Right.
And,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
mm,
That's exactly the point. Yeah. Hmm. So
yes,
that's
and
yeah.
carry
Go
on.
ahead. Go. No. No.
Oh,
Go ahead.
there was just another point that occurred to me about certain people who claim that they believe in God, and then when you inquire a little bit further, it's not the Abrahamic God that they believe in, and you think, well, what kind of what is God that you say you believe in that isn't the Abrahamic God, and they can't really explain themselves, and then recently I worked out, oh, it's actually themselves, because this God that they worship agrees with them whatever they do, right?
It's very
And
pretentious. It's pretentious. It's baloney. It's fake. It's hollow. It's just, you know what? You know how they get away with it? By being very charismatic, or very forceful, or very manipulative about it. It's like the style, the delivery. That's and the threat of force behind it, the threat of violence behind it. That's the way. That's how they've been getting away with it for centuries. But all that is over and done with now. It just doesn't. It's like you said, it just doesn't work anymore. And they have to be honest and look themselves in the mirror and figure out where all the flaws are in all these positions that they've taken, and that their ancestors have took and held on to, foolishly, to the point where now it's exhausted itself. It really is. I mean, time is up. It
no, but
has.
they have to understand that their religion is rubbish. I mean, that I think is something they don't understand. I mean, they think, oh well,
But it's
Christianity, I was never Christian, and liberalism, I
no,
was
no,
never
no.
liberal, and they don't care that this
Whatever,
is.
whatever manifestation it took, it's like found in the book of Daniel that this is the last beast, or it's there's it, there it from the destruction of the second temple until today. This 2,000 year long process is a process of shape shifting. Like the Roman Empire took on many forms, and so it's actually, if you read the prophets correctly, and if you read Daniel correctly, that this is like a creature, like it's described as a creature with many heads, or it's described as a power that takes many shapes and forms throughout the whole length of the time of wonderment, as is mentioned in the book of Daniel, the allotted time for God to be distant from his creation, or not, if not distant, not you know directly and publicly and visibly felt and involved in an undisputed way. This is the time when that's why it was called end times in the prophets. The time of the end of days is when this period of this whole length of history where uh, Christianity did succeed. It did spread throughout the world. You got to give them at least recognition for having spread as it was meant to, as well as Islam. It was meant to spread. But there times that come. There comes. Sorry, I'm slurring my words. There comes a time for an end, and the end of days, end times means messianic revelation. It means God's direct intervention in the world where all human beings will recognize His authority, His sovereignty. Everyone will bow and everyone will obey and everyone will be subservient, and they will all be servants of God, or they will be dead. There won't be any resisting this. There won't be any you know what's the word
Yeah,
I'm looking.
you're saying it's a process that is going to lead to punishment because the sin is its own punishment.
No, but there's not going to be any more of an ability to deny God or deny His existence or to fight against Him. When there's direct intervention, and this is what is meant by tikkun olam or messianic redemption and revelation, it means direct intervention. God intervenes directly, and nobody has a say anymore. Free will is taken away. I mean, again, it's hard to understand this. People can't make sense of this. This is what my rabbi is saying. He's saying that basically evil will be extinguished, and people won't be even able to commit evil acts. After the Messiah starts correcting the world, and it'll be a quick process. It'll be a painful process. A lot of the ones that are irredeemable will be dead. The ones that did no repentance, the ones that didn't ask for God to help, God to intervene. They didn't pray for God's intervention. They didn't believe in it. They kept it to their stubborn ways of just resisting the authority of the Creator, while they still had the ability to do so. A lot of them won't be here. A lot of them will be gone, or their lives will be cut short, or they won't live long lives, or
Or we die in a nuclear holocaust. So
no, it's not a nuclear holocaust. It'll be different. It won't be a nuclear. It'll be like what you can see happening. What all the preppers have been talking about. You have like lights out. You have like a shit hit the fan. A sort of a scenario where rule without law. What do they call WROL? Without rule of law. And you've got Mad Max world. It's not a nuclear holocaust, but you've got sort of anarchy and starvation and a disorder and a lot of chaos where everybody will be at each other's throats. That's why the preppers have been making such they've been talking about, they have that bunker mentality, and they have their stores of food, and they're out in the rural parts of the world in the countryside, and they see the cities as being condemned, and they see the cities as being death traps. And it could get to that place. I mean, it's being allowed to degenerate to those levels where they'll pull the lever, they'll pull the switch. If it's like you could see, if it's starting with staple foods like baby formula, and if I'm correct, it was not too long ago. It was cream cheese that they had a problem with. They had dairy milk that was being cut off. The supplies were being cut off, and there were logistics issues. And there was all sorts of problems with the supply chain issues. Whether it's most of it is premeditated and deliberate, most of it is planned. So a lot of things are happening behind the scenes. People that follow the right sources of information know that we're upon major disturbances. And
Yeah,
what you're
because I think there is a problem of accountability. Because I think we all know that the leaders who are officially our national leaders are not really in charge, and
right.
somebody else, and we don't know who it is, and
No, we do
it's
know. We do know who it is. We do know. It's very easy. It's not even a theory anymore. It is the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Group, Davos, the United Nations. All of these globalist organizations. We've focused on them. The people that are in the know have focused on them. And a lot of the power elites that have uncloaked and actually stated their objectives, and they've stated their goals, and they're implementing them. The Great Reset, the Build Back Better. It's no longer a question of figuring things out. It's no longer a matter of you know a speculation. These people have
Did
made
you
their
ever listen to that
what
little video about the operation of democracy? It
right.
was actually something that came from Mein Kampf, and it was Hitler saying democracy doesn't work because of, and then he explained, and I
Yeah, what
thought
is
it
it?
was.
Yeah, his substitution obviously didn't work either. Wasn't working.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
because it just get decisions, crazy decisions get hidden in a parliamentary majority, and you don't really know whose idea it was, and
yeah.
you know, and
I agree. There's no accountability. It's checks and balances. Checks and balances in the American way system of government are completely out the door. They've flown out the window a long time ago. It's all corrupted. It's all covered up, and it's all not just swept under the rug. Now it's out in the open because those people in government over there in America think that so little of the American citizen, the average American citizen. They think them absolutely to be absolutely idiotic and retarded and incapable of organizing and demanding accountability from their leaders. And
yeah, that,
Americans,
that they can be ignored with impunity.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
arrogance, and they might there might be a point for them thinking, well, they're so stupid, we can just keep ignoring them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you listen to what these people are saying. I monitor them, and it's like, yeah, they're really stupid.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt when I was in America. I mean, if I was aware of the corruption, and I was aware of the manipulations and the cutthroat, and they're like totally two faced, and they smile in your face, but they're taking advantage of you at the same time, and they don't care. And as long as they have the printing press and the status of the dollar as the world reserve currency, they'll throw you a bone. They'll let you live, even if you're poor. They'll let you live okay, relatively well, as on welfare or unemployment, whatever welfare state. But then, what do? They have really sinister plans to kill you.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
to
because they're warehousing these people for extinction because there's no longer a manufacturing base, is there?
right.
I mean, that's why you need labor, and if you don't have a man, you have AI, you have driverless
Very
cars, you have driverless
wow. That
boats.
was actually very well stated. That was very eloquent. Can you say that again? They're warehousing people for extermination. That's
For
very
extinction,
for
they're saying, you don't have to marry. There's no need. There's enough people in the
yeah.
world. You can be gay. We're going to give you legal status as it started with a civil partnership in the UK, and then it became gay marriage, and then they're encouraging children to, sterilize themselves so that they can masquerade as a member of the opposite sex. And then when it doesn't work, they're going to kill themselves all by themselves. No need for an active extermination policy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's like instead of doing it in an embarrassing way of concentration camps and extermination, they're doing it more like what they stated they would do it in this way. It's like they'd kill people, and they'd let people and feel as though it was done. It was the hidden hand. They wouldn't sense the hidden hand of who really
Mm.
did it to them. It's like letting people enjoy their own captivity until they die, or actually making them have, letting them have moments of pleasure, or a not just pleasure, but enjoyment. Let them
Mm.
give them some enjoyment while they kill themselves. Let them eat.
Yes, yes, and every time they enjoy themselves in sex and
Yeah,
junk food and
yeah, yeah,
trash TV, they are
yeah,
killing themselves a little bit.
yeah. I felt that when I was in America, for sure. If I didn't break that kind of cycle, if I didn't break that kind of you know uh, training or conditioning,
Mm.
or habits, those are habits you develop over there. If you're not focused and self-disciplined, you'll fall into that kind of behavior, you know and you actually do end up destroying yourself there, and it's deliberate. It's intended to be that way for a lot of people living there. So you have your people that maybe have your high, they live well, they got white collar jobs, they earn a good living, they got a nice big old house, but the majority of the American people are like treated like cattle. They're treated say it again, and that fancy
Warehouse for extinction.
warehouse for extinction. That sounds like some Pink Floyd album right there for you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're sort of boxing us up so we don't take up too much space, right?
Yeah,
I forget what movie it was, that we're all just sort of brain sitting in, the sort of little, liquid thing, and this the brain thinks it's happy and are fed all kinds of experiences, and it's not really doing anything. It's just a brain, you know.
yeah. I forget where it was written, but is it from the book from Orwell's 1984? I forget which book it says. Uh, having the people enjoy their own just self destruction, or having them enjoy themselves while they die, while they are.
And enjoying the poison that will kill
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. It's from some dystopian book about the futuristic sort of vision and outlook on what would happen, and it describes this time perfectly. This is actually what's been implemented by these people.
Yeah,
You know,
but I think increasingly clearly, the divide is they make it about race, they make it about sex, but really it's about the people who want to marry and have children,
right, right.
and those who don't care to do so anymore because they're jaded, they're disgusted, they can't bear the thought even of marrying and having children, and
Yeah,
and the people who want to do that will survive, and the people who don't will be, yeah, extinct.
they'll
And a
extinct
lot
them.
of them already know that.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's tragic. I feel it. I also see it in certain types of people that have even in Israel. You have these people that have given up and succumb to this way of thinking, and so they become LGBTQ, or what have you, and then they're not in support of marriage or children, or they're not so as disgusting as what you find in America with a uh, what would you call them, those fourth wave feminists?
Feminist, um,
Yeah,
uh,
that are like so pro-abortion that they're like deranged about it.
they boast about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're out of their
Yeah.
minds. It's like these people. They when I see them, it's not that I just feel sorry for them. I see them and I see this like they're totally devoid of any uh, godliness. There's no godliness about them. There's no light in them. They look really dim. They look dark. They look sick. They look and they talk like like deranged, sick people. They're sick in the head. They've allowed themselves to be utterly soul sucked. It's just the right word to use. They're soul sucked. It's like they look like I can describe them as literal mutants of the apocalypse. That's who I would describe as mutants of the apocalypse. We are seeing them.
Yeah, because it's
Actually,
the opposite of what we're supposed to be, go forth and multiply, look after your children, it's the
or at
direct
least just don't lose
opposite.
your soul and be in support of killing the unborn or killing the born right after they're born, and then be in gloating and boasting about throwing them into furnaces to heat the hospitals. They actually did this in hospitals in London. That's what I found out. The aborted babies were thrown into the local hospitals furnaces to heat the hospitals. Fucking sick in the head.
Really, I hadn't heard about that, but I know there are furnaces for, burning, bits of people that they've cut off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's where they
I
throw
guess
the
that would be
aborted.
medical waste, but
That's where they throw the aborted children as well.
I think I think cosmetics or some, it's used anyway. I know in China,
Yeah,
the placenta
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. What is it? Stem cells, and they use it also. Yeah, all sorts of things. It's just too gross. It's too horrific. It's too surreal and horrific. And these people celebrate this stuff. They celebrate it. They're glad it's happening. They're boasting about it. That's why I find these people to be, some people are truly irredeemable. They go so far with their evil and sickness and God.
Because there are no restraints, there are no constraints anymore, and I think that is precisely the problem. That because people are, there's no safety rail, there's no fences, so people will just keep going and going and going until
Yeah, yeah.
something
Well,
stops them.
and that's
And
why I firmly believe, Claire, that this is the process that brings us to direct divine intervention and messianic revelation. People can accuse me of being insane. We've got some Palestinian woman there in your comment section. She's one of your moderators. That woman, she says, Sam is out of his mind. He's insane. All right, we'll see. Let's wait and see. It's all happening. It's all building. And whoever has anything to say, like the atheists in your crowd over there, or whatever they are, nihilists, atheists, whateverists, they're no longer clever. They're not clever. They're not clever in the face of what's happening now. They have nothing smart to say. They have nothing clever to say, because this is crunch time, just as you described it, Claire. This is a do or die time. This is time to pay the piper and face the music time. And these people's fancy arguments, or somewhat try to sound intelligent with the argumentation they make, it just has no efficacy. It's not. There's nothing there. They can talk themselves blue in the face. They're not going to change what's the process that we're in. You can't talk your way out of this. You can't make your atheistic case and arguments to minimize or excuse or ignore what's happening now. It's so blatant. It's in your face. What are you
well,
going to
they
do?
are ignoring it because I guess that's what they have to do. They can either ignore it or do something that is the opposite of where it's all going. And I
I,
suppose most people will just go with the mainstream, which is to hope it's all going to be okay in the end.
right. It's pathetic. It's normalcy bias, as they call it. It's basically lying to yourself, kidding yourself, and cognitive dissonance.
Following the crowd, I think that just not not to make a fuss and draw attention to themselves. But it's
Oh,
also
sure.
the language that people use when they post stuff. It's like, what do you mean? They don't even post proper sentences. A few of them, and it's annoying because it's like, well, why did you just say that? Can
Right,
you not just, you know, no, I don't want an emoji. I want you to actually say what you
right,
mean,
right,
in a sentence, and they're not capable of that anymore.
right. Yeah, language and communication skills have been stunted by what's been happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
by
but
the
because I mean, you find so many media, the suggested answers, like hi, I think in Hangouts there is, there's almost a kind of suggested answer that you click on, in response to whatever,
Right.
somebody said. I don't know if you've noticed this.
Yes. Absolutely. I
It's
have.
it's so automated,
It
and
is.
sometimes you do it because it just seems,
It's
normal.
horrible. It disconnected people from having normal,
A proper
relation.
conversation.
Yeah, proper conversation. Yeah.
But I find that, in a lot of these politics websites, it's almost as if they don't want a conversation,
No, no,
which is why,
yeah.
they don't even talk to each other. There's
No, they
certain
want it. They
subjects they
want the public dumb. They want the public malleable. They want the public easily. What's the word for what impressionable? They want people to be continually be
they want acquiescent, submissive.
acquiescence. They want people to be submissive and malleable, or to be like zombie sheep, to just continue following the talking points and the directions and the latest thing, the latest fad, the latest whatever to put on their Facebook profile page, just to be followers, not to be free thinkers, not to be independent thinkers, not to
Yeah, but
be
because they're motivated by the number of followers. So,
yeah,
um, and 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 I think, maybe the algorithms do, kind of try to discourage you from saying certain things by
right,
kind of almost sort of lowering the number of your viewers if you say the wrong thing, and then,
right.
when something stupid is going on, it'll raise the number of your followers.
No, but I mean, they've ticked off enough people to the point where uh, a large critical mass of people have been triggered and sort of awakened to the fact that now this is not some uh, what would you call it? It's not. It's really a plan. It's really organized. It's not something that's happening randomly or spontaneously. They really they see this. They see the structure. They see it, how it's being engineered. They know that there are puppet masters. They know that there are people pulling strings here to do this to the public, to do
There's a
this.
lot of behaviorism in this because,
Yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed your notifications. They'll just find, somebody like your comment, and somebody you don't know posted a comment in your group.
right,
And it's like, oh, and this is what you said a year ago, and
right,
it's trying to suck you in, to
right,
keep you distracted, because when people are posting or talking, it's most of it is self-therapy in my view.
right.
And when they
It's
do that, they're not plotting revolution. They're
exactly.
not.
But you know what it is? This is highly developed behavioral psychology that has been studied and for centuries, that has been perfected and worked on for centuries. And it begins with the Romans, modifications of the Hebrew Bible to invent Jesus. That's behavioral psychology. That's mind control. That's psychological operations, and that's on the government level. That's the state-sponsored government level psychological
Yeah,
operation.
yeah, it's like we'll take this really powerful God of the Jews and reduce him to the crucified Christ,
Right,
who's
and who
not
hides,
a virgin. Yeah,
and
let's
but he's an avatar for the Caesar, the Roman Caesar, and it's like he who hides behind him. It's the state. It's the fascist state. It's human beings. It's the government. So you could see that the seed of it, the seed of behavioral psychology in the name of controlling the masses, of deceiving them, of brainwashing them, of
But it's also giving them what they want.
yeah,
They say Christianity was a religion of women and slaves, and it's like, why?
right,
Why?
right, such
Because
bullshit.
they're dumb, and they want to remain in denial, but they still want to get to heaven. And the best thing for them is to just keep following orders,
Yeah, religion
obey
of
the
women,
law, and shut up
corporate
about anything. And yeah,
nonsense.
they Christianity keeps them dumb, and a lot of them, well, they
No,
can't.
they're kept dumb because the state it wants them to be under, to be subservient, to be lower class, to be is under the rule of the fascist leaders of the government in the government, the
Yeah,
control
and
structure.
you watch the way they worship. I mean, this is something I kind of noticed when I took an interest in religion. And, you go to church, it's all, very regimented. You stand up, you make your responses, you sing hymns, you know your place and you know the order of service,
Yeah,
and you're
there's a
not
ritual. Yeah,
expected to speak. But
right,
but with rabbis, I mean, I guess the best talks I've been to, the audience were like excited primary school children, and they could interrupt, they could ask questions,
right,
and sometimes they'd be told off. I mean, I
right,
thought that was great. But you're not encouraged to ask questions in Christianity because they'll
right.
think stupid, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even a clever
It's
child would instantly,
yeah.
topple
It's about
nonsense on stilts.
no, no. It's about conformity, and it's about teaching conformity because it's the Roman Empire. I mean, the Roman Empire wanted conformity. They didn't want any alternative ways of thinking and behaving. They wanted conformity, and this religion is the method and the tool they use to create a
And they
structure.
still won't acknowledge it. I've been saying, this is Christianity was used to prop up the divine right of kings. I mean, that was what it was. From
Yeah,
Constantine the Great. Well,
yeah,
he
that's
was
what it
actually
was
emperor.
designed that way. It was designed that way.
Yeah, and therefore it's like, well, you don't live under a monarch now, so you need a different system, a more rule-based system
No,
where
but they
people
can't let
know
go
the
of their
rules
heritage,
and
their
they know
tradition.
their rights.
But I fully agree with you. But it's a heritage and identity, and they can't let go
It's
of it.
pride as well,
It's
because
pride.
the British have for so long, thought that they have this wonderful, a constitution which is unwritten and so beautiful and so ancient and so noble and whatever, and it was only recently that I realised it's a complete fraud. It means you haven't got a constitution.
Uh,
You won't even know what your rights are, and you're proud of this thing, and you
uh
don't even know. And when I tell you, you want to deny it because you don't want to be the victim of this fraud.
Yeah, and also it's a grudge. It's the grudge against the Jews that we've been
Oh,
the
it's not
scapegoat.
even that. I think it's sort of, I guess you're married and somebody tells you your wife is having an affair. You're not going to be happy. You're going to wish it was not true, and you're going to say it's not true,
Right.
instinctive, right? Something like that.
I agree. I agree. I agree. They have a lot to overcome, and it's especially the pride, and the Jesus is a big stickler. It's a big obstacle of pride for them to overcome, and they'll have a hard time when they see the true face of the true Messiah, the only Messiah, not the fake one that they said came 2,000 years ago. And people
Yeah.
will disagree with me, Christians, agnostics, Muslims, whatever. You don't agree with this Jewish position on messianic revelation. I am very confident in what I'm stating now. I've been following this long enough. It's been a pivotal part of my life for years now. It's been a deciding factor of so many decisions I've made in my life.
What,
Eh,
coming to Israel?
Yes, and also where to focus my attention, where to focus also my values, and how not to get caught up in the sickness of popular culture. I've disengaged. Now that I've re-engaged, it's God's will, and I believe it's the hand of God, and I believe in God, and I believe in a what's called in Hebrew a like what's the word, hashgacha pratit. In Hebrew, you call this hashgacha pratit. It's like a direct personal oversight. God is
What,
He's the one
looking over your shoulder?
looking over you. I mean, we don't. I don't believe in coincidences. If I've been isolating myself and focusing on so many things just to basically develop this kind of understanding, there's a reason why that all of a sudden I should meet a girl that clicks with me almost perfectly. There's a so
Oh
there
gosh, Sam's in love.
Yeah, I'm in love. Well, maybe I don't want to. I don't want to be cried, but I don't want to be crushed. I don't think she's gonna crush me. She's into it. I was like, there's a simpatico here. There's a lot of chemistry there, So
Yes.
and that I believe is also divine, and it's all about you got to believe. You got to. It's about submitting to your faith and realizing that everything's from God, good and bad.
Yeah, and sometimes patience rewards the person who doesn't take the first bus out, out of town.
Right.
You
Yeah.
wait, you read the timetable, you check the destination, whatever.
Sure. Certainly, it's okay. I mean, people, my time in Israel since I've been here has definitely not been easy. It's been very challenging, and I got married, I got divorced, I had a son. Things are up and down. That's life. You have to pay for you have to pay your dues, and you have to pay for your also for your infractions or sins or all whatever it is. The what you owe to God, you end up paying. Well, you can't. There's no way of avoiding it. Everybody's going to have to pay. I mean, the whole entire world is. It's not about just being forgiven and doing repentance. It's making amends and justice and having balance. It's like if you're gonna have a time of peace on earth and messianic revelation and redemption, everything will have to balance itself out. All of the affronts, all of the evil will have to be paid for. Will have to be atoned for. And you can imagine what that means, Claire, and how evil humanity is allowed itself to become and has been for the longest time. All of that will have to be atoned for. All of that there will have to be, amends will have to be made with God. So and that's what's coming. That's where we are. That's what's coming. The world will be humbled. The world will be put in its place. Human beings will not be in charge of this planet anymore. That's what end times means. That's what it means. So the Christians have a belief that the devil is running this world, that it's Satan or the devil. That's the again, it's the fusion. It's syncretism with Greco-Roman paganism and dualism and all that stuff that you find from in the Zoroastrian religions. Dualism. Uh, it's different in Judaism, but we believe to a certain extent this is something similar, which basically is that the humanity or man will not have control of this planet anymore. It's like uh, domain. The earth is man's domain and man's pleasure garden or plaything. Will not. It won't function that way anymore. I mean, it's like the hand of God being directly involved and having making reshaping the planet and reshaping the terms that human beings live on this planet, changing everything. That's what it means. It's like going back to the Garden of Eden, going back to
Well, I
that
think
kind
if people want to avoid this, horrible thing, well, some people think it'll be horrible what you just described. If
right.
or even if it's not what you describe, it will be third world war and starvation, hunger, lawlessness,
Well, it's
and
going to be yeah. It is good. It's already horrific. It's going to be horrific for a lot of people. It's going to be horrific. Because basically it's a humbling of the entirety of the human race. It's God humbling man being man and woman. It's humanity is going to be humbled. And how does God go about doing this? He allows this situation to get out of hand, where nations are fighting nations, classes are fighting classes, sexes are fighting the sexes. There's
because
a
they don't follow God's laws.
Yeah, it's just that
Because it would just make sense if people did, and then they would solve their problems,
yeah,
more easily.
and he's
Because
just letting
even if
people
you don't believe in God, if you followed His laws, life would be better than this mess.
right. So all this
Kind of
strife,
like
all
that.
this conflict comes about from the disobedience, exactly, from the lack of discipline, from the lack of restraint. And so it's out of pride, ego, arrogance, all this is that you have strife and conflict and self-destruction.
Well,
And
but
the,
and also the inability to see, to perceive the moral hierarchy that obviously must exist for a society to run. I mean, the most immediate analogy would be, two groups of people, and one is run like the military with a general giving orders and everybody
right,
doing what they're supposed to
hierarchy.
do,
But that's
and the
what.
other lot is like the hippie movement, and everybody thinks they're
But,
equal, and they
but
have no leader.
yeah, but actually, that's the old form of Christianity and Catholicism that was very structured in that way, like a military hierarchy and a
Yes, it was
chain of command.
centralized.
It was centralized, so it worked. It worked in Europe for the
As
longest
long as
time.
they practiced marriage, but they didn't. 50 years, half a century of not practicing marriage has just
Yeah, but it's
rotted
still a false.
everything that they had
It's
away.
still a false god, and it's still a false religion. And in its essence, that's why it failed, and it's wrong. I mean, it was permitted to exist in that form for the longest time, and people, through Jews throughout the generations, were always praying, "When is this going to end?" And so many generations came and went, and many died. And there's a promise of reincarnating. No, the resurrection of the dead and all that. That's a Jewish belief. But
They believed in all that nonsense, and it was okay for them to believe in that nonsense as long as they practiced marriage. They could, even, cut that bit of nonsense out and still pretend to believe in it, but do something else in
right,
practice.
right,
But with, it just shows the power of the practice of marriage to be able to hang on to what you have. If you practice it properly, you marry the right people, you do the right thing by your children and whatever. But
right.
obviously, if you just dispense with it altogether, this is what you get.
Pretty much. And furthermore, it's a there's so much to add as far as the scales, the weights and measures, the what's the words for, like, another way of describing it, the balances, the weights, how do you say,
The
there's a
balance of power.
no, the spiritual balance of the planet is out of kilter. It's out.
Yes.
So it's like so when God intervenes, it's about bringing things back into balance. Because
Yes,
we.
but the balance is also within the mind, in the sense that, while we, still have a home, a roof over our heads, and, but food in our belly, we feel uneasy because we think our leaders are mad or stupid or evil, and we're surprised that we're not already, blown up in World War III,
Right.
or something terrible has not already happened.
Right, a lot of people feel this way, it's instinctual, and I know why they feel this way. And sad to say, it's like it'll be difficult for everyone. My rabbi's been speaking this way recently, also in the lectures. He says, "Don't pretend as though you were not warned. When the day arrives, it's like you'll have people crawling on the floor on their bellies in pain." And then you'll have also the furtherance of more diseases, more death, and calamities, and it's biblical. It'll continue to be biblical. Except once you have messianic revelation, things will change in Israel. Israel will be taken care of first. Israel will be.
Or just the acknowledgement that a certain legal system would work better than this kind of crazy.
Yeah, it'll be supernatural. It will be metaphysical. It will be beyond if I'm using give me the fancy word, the fancy term for existential. It's not. It will be transcendental. It won't be existential. What's about to happen? I mean, you're thinking on a certain level, and I'm thinking in a totally different place.
Yes, because you literally believe that the Messiah
Yes,
is
yes,
arriving imminently, and I'm saying,
Yes.
The situation in theory is retrievable, but only if people change their minds and sort of see the light. But they're so corrupt they can't even acknowledge what is, undeniable truth. They're going to ignore it. They're going to pretend they don't understand it. They're going to deny it because they
Right.
don't want to stand out. They don't want to be, treated like freaks if they point out the obvious.
Right.
Because
Well,
there are no men anymore. They're afraid to actually speak what they believe to be the truth, and then they wonder why Trump can't help. Because Trump, however well intentioned he was, he can't do anything if nobody follows his orders, right?
right.
How can he accomplish anything if nobody follows his orders? And
Okay.
there are all these sort of American men saying, "Oh, he likes Jews too much. He, he's part of the, whatever." And I think, how can anybody do anything if his orders are ignored, even if he's even if they're the right orders? Well, especially if they are the right orders. But if they're still ignored, then what's the point? And so all these protections that the American Constitution has for Americans, the Americans don't get it anymore. They don't, they won't assert their right. They won't say, "Hey, you can't do this because our Constitution says this or that." They don't even do that anymore.
No, no, well, no, no. Some people are in America. I have to give them credit. They're finding their backbones again. They're like grabbing themselves by the balls and lifting themselves up from the floor and behaving like they should, as in their heritage and in their inheritance and their tradition. It's like some Americans are actually developing some courage, and
Apart from Tucker Carlson, I mean, I don't
no,
know.
it's more than that. It's like not just, I wouldn't just say Governor DeSantis. It's that there are others as well, and they're making themselves more visible. Because they know they have nothing to lose. Once they like that congresswoman as well from Georgia, MTG. You know what I'm talking
I
about.
don't know. I was going to ask you to tell us a bit about Governor DeSantis because I haven't heard of it.
Oh well, no, these are conservative, populist leaders in America now. They're and from the more southern states, they seem to have a little more courage than the city people. A
Because the
MTG,
things are worse for them, perhaps.
yeah, I mean, it is the desperation it is driving them to be more active. Is actually forcing them to develop some, intestinal fortitude. But what's her full name? This congresswoman, MTG. She uses her her Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, I believe.
Mm,
Yeah, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene,
mm.
and she's outspoken also in Congress. You have a lot of the people that are in opposition to what's being done, and they know that everything's on the table. It's that critical. It's like it's all for all the chips. It's everything's on the line. So they are actually developing. They have developed, or they have enough courage to throw themselves into this battle without being inhibited, without having any fear, and
Mhm.
without worrying about they're self-sacrificing. They don't care. They are willing to throw themselves onto the barbed wire or into the flames, what have you.
But they're
They'll
prepared to say what they believe to be the truth. I'm reading this headline in the Independent, and it says Marjorie Taylor Greene told to stop repeating Putin's propaganda after she speaks
right,
out against Ukraine aid. She claims
right,
40 billion for Ukraine, but no baby formula for American mothers and babies.
right, exactly. And you have not just her. You have the former Democrat congresswoman from Hawaii, which is Tulsi Gabbard, and she's also outspoken. And she's a lieutenant colonel in America's army.
But they won't say that America needs to become a one-party state, as Washington said all those centuries ago.
It's
Because
true.
I mean,
It's
They
true.
won't
It's
say that because because democracy is still a conceptual idol
no,
for
what really corrupted America was the fiat monetary system, the easy credit, the ability to print money and have it be accepted, to print currency and to have it be accepted as you know, a what would how do they refer to it? Legal tender. And כן, אבל היא באמצע שיחה. תסגרי רק שנייה, אני הולך לסיים. אני מסיים תכף. Okay, so
fiat
uh,
currency.
yeah, the fiat currency, the dollar reserve system. I mean,
Mhm.
it's what they do. They understood this. Even a lot of the economic analysts that were honest in the '70s said this will lead to a degenerate society. It will lead to everything that we're seeing today, decadence.
Usury has caused these problems.
But it's not just that. It's not just usury. It's the money is the fiat monetary system is based on a absolute manipulation, not based on it's a commandment to have only gold and silver as your only recognized form of money and currency,
Mm.
according to what you find in the Hebrew Bible. And yeah, there are laws against usury in the Hebrew Bible as well. But fiat currency that's based on the systems we have today, which is all it's
Fractional
all
reserve banking, maybe that was what you were thinking
that's
about. Yeah.
that it's a part that's a part of it, but it's all digital, and
Mhm.
it can all be conjured up, and it could be inflated and blown up, and it's a global system. So, and it's based on interdependence, and it's based on debts being assets, and debts being a form of
Sold on and
yeah,
debt's been traded.
yeah.
And built on, and all this is built on nothing.
Yeah, it's all it's vile. It's
So
evil.
it's a bubble
I mean,
that's going to
you have
burst.
in the English language, yeah, it's going to buckle, it's going to collapse. But I mean, you play on the letters. It's like it's vile and it's evil. It's like VILE. You know, it's like
Mhm, mhm.
it's vile. It's grotesque. It's like and it's made people grotesque. It's a big part of why things have degenerated to this level. And
Yes, I
analysts
mean it's corrupting, and from the beginning when John Calvin said it was okay for Europe to um, practice usury, because before he came along, Martin Luther was very firm about there being no usury, but John Calvin said it was okay, and it started. Europe prospered with mercantilism and all that, and now we're in the era of negative interest rates, and this will discourage saving, and this will
no, but
you
Europe
know
is finally. I see. If you're watching, if you're looking, they've actually changed course, and it's no longer. I mean, if you do the math, it's still negative interest rates against inflation and all that. But on the books now, in on the financial channels like CNBC and everything, where you have the gauges and you have the charts and everything. It's like Europe is in positive interest rate territory, very minor, limit, very small amounts, but they've
mhm.
no longer they're no longer in negative territory according to what you find listed. But if you do the math and if you do the calculations, it's still relatively zero interest rates or negative interest rates as compared to all the other parameters. And when you do the math and the equations, but still, yeah, we've reached the end of the line. I mean, that's why I'm saying I'm fully convinced that we have reached the end times, end of the end. Like
Hmm.
why? Because these systems have exhausted themselves. These false religious systems have exhausted themselves. These economic systems that are based on falsehoods, based on lies, based on emptiness, based on nothing but manipulations and confidence, they have exhausted themselves. And these wars have exhausted themselves. People are exhausted of these wars. They have no more desire for these wars. And it's just, we've reached exhaustion. So the only solution, these six demonic freaks that are Luciferians and the worship evil, believe in evil for this in the name of good, is that the only solution they have is exterminate everybody, have everybody go extinct, like you said. If it's no longer a matter of slow deaths, it's no longer a matter of slow kill. Now they want to kill us all off in like a catastrophe, a calamity. Was a cyber attacks, economic, what is it, electromagnetic pulse, or like whatever they're planning, the wars. They don't care. These people are really deviant, sick freaks. A lot of them that social engineers, in the vein of all the social engineers from previous centuries, going back to the inventors of the Jesus. Okay, and again, we talked about it ad nauseum. They will eventually have to surrender to Jesus. Okay, and
Yes, and they have to be made to do so by some formal process has to be made and formally by Jews and Muslims and say, look, explain yourselves. And then, I mean, I think that process is important because you can't just say, oh, it'll happen and they'll realize and whatever. There has to be some formal, move
yeah, yeah,
hold
yeah,
them
true.
out.
They always want to debate. According to Scripture, the Protestants call it sola scriptura, and they want to set the guidelines for the debates. They can't do it anymore. They can't.
Yeah, so the scriptura just means that the monarch of that particular European kingdom exercises the right to interpret the Bible for himself. I mean,
Right,
that's all it means,
right, right.
and
So they
especially
think
the
that,
Pope's interpretation.
yeah, so they think that's a fair system of debate.
Yeah,
They
it's
think,
like it's done. I mean, but if you apply it to Islam, that would work because there's actually stuff in the Quran that are sensible rules for how to live. But there's nothing in the New Testament. It doesn't even
well,
say clearly whether Gentiles are allowed to
no,
practice
because it's
usury
all
and all kinds of stuff.
no,
It's
because
just dumb stories, really stupid
just
stories.
it's because it's exactly as Joseph Atwell describes it. It's oligarchical sophistry. That's all it is. And
Yeah,
it's an
which is why there's no point even talking to Christians because their form of debate is to waste your time and refer to this verse and that verse and bamboozle you and I think Jews and Muslims are still too polite. They're just sort of letting them ramble on, and when actually they should say, well, how is it not idolatry what you do?
well,
And if you're going to
yeah.
say it's not idolatry because Jesus is God, how is Jesus God? And they can't explain themselves. And this point has to be made again and again and again, to
Well,
bishops and archbishops.
well, yeah. You know what? It's like I've heard this said by the other Jews that you had on was Jacob Petrucci and another one that they don't want to alienate the Christians. They're too reliant on a sort of like their
It's like,
friend.
well, we've never done that before in all, centuries of history. We've never done it before. We don't do, we're certainly not going to do it now just because you say so. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
okay, but what about these Muslims? It's like, yeah, well, these Muslims, they blow themselves up, just to make a point, but they can't even refer to chapter 18, verse 4. I mentioned it to them. It's like, it's black. It's like I never said anything. They know they've never done it at any time in their history of was
Well, yeah,
1400 years.
you have dumb people from all religions, but the ones that blow themselves up are really the saddest ones from amongst the Muslims because they get brainwashed into thinking that they're going to meet 70 virgins in the
Yeah, I mean,
afterlife.
they were told, like if you blow yourself up, we're going to support your family. Don't worry about it. And
That's
they
it.
think, okay.
Yeah, but the promise of the virgins, and they also give them drugs. They also give them all sorts of like painkillers and all sorts of stimulants and everything, and they send them on their merry way. You know.
Hmm. But
So
people have to be depressed and stupid to want to do the sort of thing anyway.
well,
And I guess.
they also use retarded teenagers as suicide bombers.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
it shows a really sick, devolved a kind of state of mind to do this to your own people to make them to tempt them to do this when they're like the lowest, where they're like unwanted or like undesirable types, and maybe families don't even care that they send off some of their most undesirable types to go blow themselves up.
Yeah, become a soldier of Allah.
Yeah, it's retarded. I mean, it makes it causes Muslims to lose a lot of respect, and or
Yeah,
to
and a lot of them, they don't learn their religion properly. It's like, um, I spoke to, you probably haven't heard of a guy called Ashkar Bukhari, but he's always, he was always being done for anti-Semitism because I guess it's also, ingrained in them. And then a few years ago, he said, "Oh, I've just read the Quran in English for the first time." And I
uh,
thought, "Oh, well, you haven't read it before?" And so, "Oh,
right,
no, I just read. I can read the Arabic, and it's so they can pronounce it, but they have no idea what it means. It's so
right.
dumb.
Yeah,
That's how they learn their religion."
yeah, it's sad. I mean, everybody, you can criticize everybody. Everybody's if this is still a free world, and a free freedom of speech and all. It's like everybody's open to criticism. Everybody can be criticized. There's no sacred cows here.
Yeah,
But
but it's such a waste of time, I suppose. I mean, they think, pronouncing it in Arabic is somehow holy and soothing or whatever, you know.
right,
But I mean, it's like, well, you should actually know the meaning of the words in your own language, otherwise you're just stupid. And the
honestly,
thing is, I guess people hate reading. I mean, I guess these days I kind of don't
yeah,
particularly
it's
enjoy
the
it.
whole. There's a overall dumbing down of culture and
And the distraction of our cell phones.
yeah, everything has been dumbed down. I mean, a it takes curious types, and it takes persistent and hardworking types, and sincere people, genuine people, that the access to the information is available to everyone now, that there is egalitarianism and equality, and as far as access to history and language, and now you got the translators. It's like information is so easily accessible.
Yeah, but people just prefer dumb games and
Yeah,
porn and dumb movies and, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
dumb
I mean,
conversations with
honestly,
dumb
Claire,
people.
I could find where this is written for you in the Hebrew Bible, that this is a sign of messianic revelation to come, that we're living in this kind of a conundrum, this paradox. I gotta go. My boy is getting kind of like what's the word? Edgy? Not what?
Restive, yes,
What I'm looking for the right word is restless, restless, restless.
yes.
All
All
right. So
right.
have a good night there, Claire. It was a
Okay,
pleasure.
you too.
Take
Thank
take it
you.
easy.
Bye
Bye.
bye.